There's such a wealth of true crime content these days that it can be difficult to figure out which ones are worth binging and which ones to skip. With many countries still being on lockdown, true crime content has seen a spike in popularity as those of us who are stuck at home dive into our morbid curiosities. Number 5. On March 3, 2010, the lives of the Hamburg family were turned upside down when the matriarch of the family, 48-year-old Barbara Hamburg, was found outside of her home in Madison, Connecticut. Interestingly, on the day that she was killed, Barbara was due to go to family court to face her ex-husband, Jeffrey. Jeffrey and Barbara were caught in a dispute over alimony and child support, with Barbara claiming that since the pair had divorced, Jeffrey had paid nothing. It's important to note that Jeffrey was incredibly wealthy, a wealth that he'd acquired through a money laundering scheme that Barbara did not approve of. Faced with backdated child support payments and the possibility that his ex-wife was going to blow the whistle on his money laundering scheme, did Jeffrey take her life? Well, that's exactly what this documentary sets out to discover. Directed by Madison Hamburg, one of Barbara's children, the 4-part documentary provides a harrowing insight into the case. Throughout the documentary, Madison takes it one step at a time, putting the pieces of his mother's case together like a jigsaw, apart from one piece that's missing. The documentary also shows Madison having to confront difficult truths and having uncomfortable conversations with family members. Barbara's sister, Conway Beach, is featured in the episode titled Sisters, and without giving too much of the documentary away, Madison and Conway confront her dark past and discuss the turmoil that went on behind the scenes. Due to the turbulent history between the two, Conway is considered a person of interest but strongly denies being involved. The situation between the two sisters is complex, and I would highly recommend watching the documentary on HBO to get the full understanding. Viewers of the documentary were left wanting more and took to internet forums such as Reddit to discuss the case and get answers to long-awaited questions. Many pointed towards a hitman for hire, as Jeffrey's DNA did not match the DNA found at the crime scene, though for some people, he appears to be the strongest suspect. Murder on Middle Beach is available on HBO and is a must-watch for true crime fans who are looking for something new or those who prefer unsolved cases. The heartfelt documentary will leave you asking the same question as the Hamburg family. Who killed Barbara and why? Number 4. Imagine being convicted and imprisoned for a crime you didn't commit. Imagine how scared and confused you would be. Well, that's exactly what happened to Juan Catalan in August of 2003. Juan spent 6 months in prison and was facing the possibility of being transferred to death row for a crime he couldn't have possibly committed. The documentary Long Shot follows Juan's incredible journey to clear his name. In August of 2003, Juan was arrested for the murder of Martha Puebla after a witness had positively identified him as the perpetrator. Martha was killed on May 12th of that same year as she sat outside of her home in Los Angeles, California. The LAPD believed that Juan had committed the crime to silence Martha as she testified against Juan's brother a year earlier. Juan was arrested and interrogated by Detective Juan Rodriguez and Detective Martin Pinner of the LAPD. Throughout the whole interview, Juan protested his innocence. Juan told his lawyer that he couldn't have possibly committed the crime as he was at the Dodgers Stadium watching the Dodgers vs. Braves game. Equipped with this information, his lawyer set out to prove that he was where he said he was and came across a phone call that Juan had made to his girlfriend as he was leaving the Dodgers Stadium. The phone call was traced and the location pinged to the stadium, but this wouldn't be the only piece of evidence that would exonerate him. Luckily for Juan and his lawyer, that night a TV show was being filmed at the Dodgers Stadium, and he'd been spotted by the TV cameras as they were filming the crowd. His lawyer then spoke to the Dodgers Stadium, who confirmed that the TV show was in fact being filmed there that night, and it was the HBO show called Curb Your Enthusiasm. Juan's lawyer painstakingly watched the footage frame by frame, hoping to get a glimpse of him and prove that he was innocent. In an interview with ABC News, his lawyer said, quote, "I went through about 20 minutes of tape and I was beginning to get disheartened because I didn't see Juan in any of them. Then all of a sudden, there he was." Long Shot does an incredible job at capturing Juan's story and showing all of the evidence that his legal team put forward to secure his freedom. This is a true crime documentary that'll make you think about the legal system and the challenges faced by those who are indeed innocent. Number 3. In 2001, author Michael Peterson called 911 and explained to the operator that he just found his wife at the bottom of the stairs. She was unconscious, and Peterson explained that it had been a terrible accident. Little did he know that this 911 call would be the start of one of the most confusing true crime cases of our time. In 2004, director Jean-Xavier Lestrade made an 8-part series titled The Staircase, which provides a deep look into the case of Michael Peterson and whether he was responsible for the death of his wife, Kathleen. The docuseries is filled with twists and turns, and even in 2021, it's one of the most divisive true crime documentaries out there. Michael Peterson claims that his wife, Kathleen, had a bad fall down the stairs after taking Valium and consuming alcohol. Though when police arrived at the scene, they noted a suspicious amount of blood. The coroner concluded that Kathleen had died as a result of blood loss and had suffered numerous injuries to the head, including lacerations. This was enough evidence for police to charge Michael with her murder, and he was sentenced to life in prison without parole. Though, as you'll see throughout the documentary, Peterson makes several appeals and was released after his charge was dropped to voluntary manslaughter. As his charge was lessened, he was given credit for time previously served, as the sentence for voluntary manslaughter cases was about 86 months. Meanwhile, Peterson had already served 98 months. The case of Michael Peterson continues to be controversial, and many people first exposed to this bizarre case learned of it from this documentary. Following his release from prison, Kathleen's sister, Lori Campbell, said, quote, "It's wrong that after a jury sentenced him to life in prison for the murder of his wife, he gets to be a free man. Closure is for a door, not for my sister." The Staircase is a must-watch for true crime fans. It's a documentary filled with twists and turns and bizarre theories that'll leave you questioning everything you know about true crime. Number 2. Peter Sutcliffe is a name that strikes fear into the hearts of many and brings back painful memories for those who were unlucky enough to cross his path. Peter Sutcliffe, also known as the Yorkshire Ripper, terrorized women across northern England between 1975 and 1980, claiming at least 13 victims. The Netflix documentary, titled simply The Ripper, provides an insight into the impact that Sutcliffe and his crimes had on the women of Yorkshire and northern England. For 5 years, Sutcliffe evaded the police due to a combination of poor police work and insufficient record keeping. Sutcliffe selected victims that he knew were vulnerable and were unlikely to be reported missing. He would often go back to their apartments or sometimes attack them on the streets using a ball-peen hammer to knock them unconscious before injuring his victims further and leaving their bodies to be found by passers-by. Sutcliffe was finally caught in Sheffield. When police pulled him over and performed a check, they noticed that both the car and the driver matched the description of the Yorkshire Ripper. After intense questioning, Sutcliffe finally confessed and told the police everything that they wanted to know. During his trial, Sutcliffe claimed that he was simply a tool of God's will, and that the voices in his head from God told him to commit these crimes. The documentary also features interviews from surviving victims and victims' families, showing a side of true crime cases that we rarely ever get to see. Whether you're familiar with the case of the Yorkshire Ripper, or you've never heard of it before, the Ripper documentary provides insight into what it's like to be a woman living during this dark period in the 1970s, and how his crimes highlighted misogyny and sexism. Number 1. The case of Eliza Lam is one of the most heavily debated true crime cases of the 2010s, with everyone having their own take on the case. In January of 2013, Eliza embarked on a solo holiday from Vancouver to California. Eliza had planned to stop at different cities, though she mysteriously vanished while she was in Los Angeles. Crime Scene: Vanishing at the Cecil Hotel follows Eliza's story from beginning to end and explores the different theories that came along with her case. Eliza mysteriously vanished on January 31st, 2013, and when she didn't make contact with her family back in Canada, they called the police and a missing persons case was launched. Eliza had been staying at the Cecil Hotel, a hotel known for its dark history. Serial killer Richard Ramirez called the Cecil Hotel home during part of his killing spree, and the hotel is plagued with stories of murder and tragedy. After Eliza was reported missing, LAPD trawled through CCTV footage to establish a timeline, but they soon realized that Eliza had not left the hotel on the day of her disappearance. It was then that they came across the chilling footage of Eliza in an elevator, frantically pressing buttons and running in and out as if someone was chasing her, before running out of the view of the camera. The documentary also follows the story of two tourists who were staying at the Cecil Hotel at the same time as Eliza. It wasn't until days after Eliza had gone missing that the water at the Cecil Hotel had a putrid taste and had become brown. A maintenance worker was sent to the roof to inspect the water tanks, and that's when they found Eliza's body floating in one of them. There are so many theories about what had happened to Eliza. The official verdict is that her death was accidental and was caused by a lapse in her mental health. However, others are not convinced, with the documentary exploring the case from all angles and posing the question, did Eliza really put herself in that water tank? Or was someone out there walking free who committed murder? Thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked this video, be sure to click that like button. Also, don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell to keep up to date with all of our future uploads. But I've been Ty Knotts, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.